1.5 days, 1.5 days into Espousal Online, and this is absolutely incredible. I thank each and every one of you who's listening in. Today we have Prasad Vidappa who's going to be in our midst, and there he is. Hello, Prasad. Can you hear me, Prasad?
Arvind, I can't hear you very clearly, Arvind. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Should we just wait until the audience starts joining?
Audience is here. We have about 135 people here right now.
I can't see anyone.
Yeah,
We
that is
should have a bit.
you hear me, Prasad?
Should I just go upstairs and try? Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so while Prasad settles down, let me quickly talk to you, all of you, and tell you that this has been absolutely wonderful experience for us at Espousal Online. There's an entire team that has been tirelessly working for the last 4 months and continues to and will continue to for the next 2 days. The response, as you all know, has been phenomenal. We have had about close to 1,200 plus people who have actually registered for this. Our maximum number of live audience, I yesterday was about, I think, 560 odd. It's been great. I think we are getting the world together for the wedding industry, and that is absolutely phenomenal. But today we have in our midst the one and only Prasad Bidappa, and I hope you can hear me, Prasad.
Yes, it's much better now. Thank you. I've just changed locations and come upstairs. So,
Good.
Arvind, very quickly, I know that I'm just the only one on the panel today. I was hoping to find someone else also with me who could answer questions if necessary. But for me, a wedding always starts with the bride. She is the most important thing in a wedding, and she is absolutely the only thing that we have to worry about in terms of styling a wedding. First, you style your bride, you make sure what she's looking like, and very importantly, what color she is wearing. So
I'm
once
going to
she is
interrupt you,
wearing
Prasad. I'm going to
a beg your
interrupt
pardon,
you. I'm going
yeah,
to interrupt you if you're on your phone. So you need to make the phone on landscape. So that would look better in the recording. Yes, yes.
is that better now? Is that
Perfect.
better?
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect, Prasad.
Okay, so like I was saying, that it is the bride who becomes the most important part of a wedding. And she is someone who can, decide what she's going to wear and make sure that the entire wedding is structured around her. So when we talk about styling a wedding, you're actually talking about styling a bride. And I think that you have to make the bride very, very happy that day. And therefore, you have to create the perfect setting for her at the wedding. It's got to be a wedding which shows her at her beautiful best. And at this point, I'd like to tell the grooms, you're not very important in this wedding. You're basically there only as a background for the bride. So please don't get carried away and think that you're going to outshine the bride or wear colors that are brighter than the bride. Just do not do that. A very good color for the groom is black with a little gold embroidery on it. So the girl can wear whatever color she wants to and be able to stand out at her own wedding and look perfect. So what I'm trying to say is, now let's for example say that a bride decides to wear pale pink. Now that's a very difficult color because when the lights come on strongly, a pale pink can look almost white in the lights, especially on camera. So make sure that you don't choose too light a color. If you have pink as the thematic color for the bride, then technically that color should not be used anywhere else in the wedding. It's only the bride's color. I love the Western tradition. When you go to a church wedding, you never wear white because the bride wears white. So nobody competes with her. Of course, I see many people turning up in white because they don't know. But please understand this, do not wear the color the bride is wearing. Even when you go to any other wedding, find out what color she's wearing. Don't land up there and give competition to the bride, you know. That will be a very bad thing to do. So if she's in pale pink, the only real color you can think of is white. So maybe greenery is always over there. Luckily, green is a very constant color in floral arrangements. And the biggest decor aspect of a wedding is the flowers. You have to decide on what kind of flowers you're using and what color of flowers you're using. So therefore, if the bride is in pale pink, I would choose white. And I would choose with the green and white, maybe a silver thematic where you can introduce a lot of twigs and branches painted silver. But that white and silver make a beautiful backdrop for a bride in pale pink. Suppose the bride wants to wear red. What are the colors that you could give her? Maybe the yellows and oranges as a background. So your flowers could be lilies and roses in those shades. You know, you don't go away too much from it. But having said that, if a bride decides to wear purple, what are the kind of colors that you're going to look at giving her? If a bride decides to wear a dark blue, what are the colors? So look for your contrast colors and do your backdrop like that. Especially if you're designing a mantap in a very beautiful way. Even the mantap should be a neutral color like silver or gold. No any other bright color will do because it will clash with what the wedding is all about. So keep your colors simple. In fact, I think one of the most successful weddings I did, my floral color thematic was white. For the simple reason that the bride was wearing, of course, a very pale and lovely, pale mauve sort of a color. So I decided that white would be the only color that should be used in the entire wedding. And I did not allow a single other color of flower to come in. And the guests walked in and they were just breathless when they saw the beauty of the white floral decor. It looked so stunning. So, you know, a wedding is a very composite thing. I'm sorry, I can't seem to be holding this right. I'm sorry. Is that all right? I'm so sorry. So, you see,
Now,
the day you start thinking about the wedding, the very first thing you're going to do is look for the location. And locations are so plentiful in this country. You can choose a five-star hotel if you want an indoor kind of a wedding, or you can choose a garden format if you want an outdoor wedding. Maybe it's going to be a big wedding and be in the palace grounds. But I think that the days of big weddings are over now for a while. You know, in this world of COVID, you're going to be designing very small and intimate weddings that are very beautiful, very meaningful. And because you have a crowd of only 100 people, or maybe a few more than that, you can afford to spend a little more on each, you know, of the menu or anything that services the guests. So we're looking at a location that primarily must be very comfortable. It should have rooms where the bride and groom can come out of, so that there are some kind of restrooms or bedrooms or something that, you know, the bridal chamber can be used because they need to go and freshen up or use the toilet or whatever, you know. Make sure that it's got a place for the bride and groom. And when you choose the venue, in COVID times, I think I would say outdoor venues would really be the very best thing. Healthier, you know, you're out in the open, you're not sort of too close to any other person. You have a lot of place for social distancing. And then remember that now that you've decided on the flowers, you've got to decide on the rest of the venue colors. You know, what are the backdrops going to be? Suppose you have a pillar arrangement or do you have a diya arrangement? Everything has to go into its place properly, all in the right colors and in the right formats. And I always suggest that the spend really should be on flowers because you know you can create backdrops like pillars and trellis work on which you can mount the flowers. And somehow, even in the photographs, that looks very beautiful. Now, if you're in a big palace kind of a hotel like Rajvilas, or if you're in the Chamundi Hills or at the West End Hotel in Bangalore, you know that the hotel itself is going to look quite grand. Suppose you do it in Umaid Bhavan in Jodhpur or in Jai Mahal in Jaipur or one of those kind of weddings. Then when you do that kind of thing, you know that the grandeur of the backdrop is also going to affect the look. So the bride and groom will have to look very royal. You can't do something simple and put it in a palace. You know what I mean? You've got to really go the full stop and have a much heavier kind of a look to have such a royal background. So be that kind of bride who chooses what her backdrop is going to be. Say, do I want a simple country style wedding in a garden Or do I want an elaborate five-star kind of an affair in which, we have to build sets and things like that? Sometimes for very big weddings, I import set builders from Kolkata who come and build beautiful pavilions and mahals and havelis and all kinds of things for us. I don't know whether that's going to happen again in a hurry. Like I said, in COVID times, we've all got to be thinking twice about it. I tell my own children, if you're getting married during COVID time, it's a very good budgeting idea. You have to invite very few people. So you can afford to have quite a luxurious wedding since the crowd is so small. So why not? Most of the weddings that have been happening during COVID time have necessarily been very small and very intimate. So once you have the venue under control and you know what kind of decor you're doing over there, I think the most important thing that you need to plan next is the menu. And remember that in India, the one thing that we never get tired of is Indian food. So I go to weddings sometimes when there's Italian food and French food and all kinds of exotic cuisines that nobody eats. Because we Indians, if we go to a wedding, we like to have wedding food. You go to a Muslim wedding, you want to eat biryani. You go to a South Indian wedding and you want to have the kind of traditional repast that it's known for. So don't get too adventurous with all the cuisines that you're doing. If you want to do an Italian boutique, that some people might want to eat salads and a penne salad or some kind of pasta, then you let them have that option in a very small way. But for me, the main course has always got to be Indian and always got to be balanced. I think one of the most successful menus we did was an Indian coastal menu where we took the coastal cuisine of Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, and Karnataka and combined it into a kind of a beautiful seafood and vegetarian kind of a meal that was absolutely amazing and beautiful. Sometimes you want to do exotic cuisines, you should keep that for the Sangeet. Because most weddings today, what are the kind of formats that we have? They have a mehndi. Even the South Indian girls like to have a mehndi because mehndi is such a beautiful thing and everyone wants their feet and hands decorated. I always suggest that the mehndi and the Sangeet should be on the same day, but if you can afford to do everything on a different day, do it on a different day. The mehndi is usually an afternoon event where you have the bride's friends and close relations come in and they all sort of putting together and helping her with her look and getting her mehndi done and talking to her about the evening to come. Then I think the next event that you have to worry about is the Sangeet. And the Sangeet for me is in a way the most glamorous of the events. It's like a red carpet event where you can wear evening dresses. And if you're dancing, you can wear elaborate costumes for that. Sangeets in India are always fun. And I know that even this has caught on in South India in a very, very big way. So you see, at the end of the day, your wedding is how you want to plan it. You can borrow customs from the north, you can borrow customs from the east, from the west, from the south. Put it together in your own special way. Nobody can say anything to you about it. So when you do that kind of a format, then you know that you're going along with what you really want. So you have your, mehndi in a certain way, maybe in a lovely garden with live music playing softly, and the evening becomes a more disco-led nightclub event for the Sangeet, and you're great fun, and you can wear the kind of clothes that you can go clubbing in, or evening dresses, or something interesting like that. And then usually after that, we have the temple ceremony in South India. And over there, the bride is normally dressed in a Kanjivaram sari or something similar, traditional gold jewelry. And the wedding is held in a temple, and you have a very good vegetarian meal with it. So that's usually the third thing. And the fourth thing is the big one, the reception, which is, I think, the most tiring one for the bride and groom because they have to stand there for hours while hundreds of people come and wish them and go. So that's something they might want to get over in a hurry. But at the reception, especially, I've seen a lot of girls make the mistake of, suddenly putting their hair up and looking like aunties because you've got to be very, very careful about how you style yourself as a bride. I always say go for your prettiest look. If your hair looks prettiest open, then wear it open. If you love it curly and open or straight and open, go with that open hair look because I think it always looks more flattering. And then for the reception, if you're going to put up your hair, make sure that you experiment with the looks earlier. I once walked into a wedding and I thought that the bride was her mother because she had put up her hair and she looked so much more older and so aged suddenly. I didn't think it was a good idea for her to style herself like that. So these are the components of styling a wedding that I take very seriously, and I make it almost like a mantra of a marriage, to make sure that the bride and the bride's family and the groom's family are all presented at their very best and are looking fantastic, and that the guests have had a wonderful time and that their comfort has been looked after very well also.
Absolutely,
That's it really,
absolutely.
Arvind, on styling a wedding.
So much of learning, Prasad, and we are so lucky at Espousal Online to have you with us, and uh, absolutely great. But let's go back, Prasad. Let's go back. Let's go back to a place where I come from, which is event management. Also, there are wedding planners, there are wedding designers, and there are wedding stylists, right? So, from a event manager stroke wedding planner, what does it take to become a wedding stylist?
See, style we spoke about, a wedding stylist is someone who can come in, like a Rohit Bal, for example, who puts together beautiful designer weddings and says, I want to do a red velvet and the flowers should all be in gold, something like that. But a wedding planner is someone who has to look after every detail. And that's why it will be very useful when your site goes operational for people to come onto this and see what their options are. They'll be able to see different wedding planners, different locations. You can give them advice on different things. So I think it's a very good idea to be having this, platform on which people can express their opinion and learn a lot also about the wedding industry.
Some piece of advice, Prasad, to the people who are interested in taking up wedding designing or wedding styling. What are the kind of opportunities that are available?
Well, a wedding stylist is also a lady who has to be very proficient in hair and makeup for the bride. She's got to be able to style the wedding and the bride to match. So if she's got to be working with the event planner, in conjunction with them to understand how the bride has to look and how she wants to be presented, whether, for example, at the reception, are they going to be elevated onto a higher level or will they be at the same level as the other guests? Will the bride and groom wait at the entrance to greet everybody? You see, a wedding stylist has to work with the event management company in close tandem. And they may not be from the same company, they could be from two different companies. So they have to learn to get along and know that the wedding is more important than their own egos or fighting about anything else. Like I said, everything is about the bride. Keep her happy.
Absolutely. Everything is always about the bride. Yeah. So what happens 10 years later? It's still about the bride, right? After 10 years of marriage, it's still about the lady of the house, isn't it?
It's always about the lady of the house, Arvind. You and I know that. And to every groom
Absolutely.
who's watching this program, learn one very important line in your life to say yes, darling, and no, darling. That's all you have to say when your wife speaks to you. Don't get into any arguments. Don't try to show that you're mentally or morally superior. You asks you something and she wants you to agree, say yes, darling. If you know that she doesn't want you to agree, say no, darling. You'll have a very happy married life if you follow my advice.
Absolutely. And like Prasad says, and I'll just add on that no darling will be very few because she's not going to ask you a question where she doesn't want you to.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So
Prasad, would
that's
you,
it from me then, Arvind. So
your
we'll
Prasad
catch
is
up
running
again
late.
soon. And if anyone has any specific questions, we can
So,
always
Prasad,
mail it to you and you can send it to me and I'll answer them.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Prasad, for
Okay.
your time. And I really appreciate this. I know you're running on very thin on time today. Thanks so much. And I'm going to look at you and meet you up on the
Thank
other
you,
side.
Arvind. Always
Bye
my
bye.
honor to be on your platform. Thank you all for checking in and listening. And we'll catch up again soon. Thank you.